Carlene, thank you for meeting with me today. We're very close on the screen, but you're quite a distance away. I'm in Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana, the boot or the heel of the boot. And where are you right now?
I'm actually in Evans, Georgia. It's right by Augusta. A lot of folks don't know about Evans, but they know about Augusta because
Yes,
of
they do.
the golf, right?
Yeah.
Nationals. It's here in like 2 weeks, maybe a
Oh,
week
that's
now.
right. Yes.
Yes, it's coming. So the city is preparing, and it's an exciting time for the Augusta area. But I live in Columbia County in Evans, Georgia.
I,
Mhm.
I I've heard of the county definitely, and that's. Do you get much of the traffic? I mean, are you put out whenever the golf tournament comes up?
Oh, absolutely. We're put out here because it's such an incredible amount of people that
Yeah,
comes to the city and it spills over into Columbia County. You know, hotels are already booked a year out.
exactly.
One of the great things people do here is they rent their homes and they go away. And so
Yes.
our children's school spring break coincides exactly with Masters Week. And so most people who understands what happens during that time actually go away. Some rent their homes, others lock it up and just leave the city because you can't get into restaurants. You can't, the traffic is horrendous from no matter which way you're going. So most people leave.
Goodness.
Mhm.
I figured that, but I wanted to make sure that what I had in my imagination was, and that's pretty close to what I had. So,
It
how
is
long have you
close.
lived there?
I have lived here since 2019 when I
Oh,
came to Fort Eisenhower. It used to be Fort Gordon, but when I came to Fort Eisenhower as the medical center commander, I moved here with my family, my husband Jervis and my two boys, Gabriel and Caleb. And I came into command of the hospital and I led the hospital during COVID. So 2019, I always have to put it in context. So 2019, I arrived, July of 2019, I took the guide on and says, I will lead fearlessly. Well, not so much, but I said I will lead. And literally by December, we started hearing a lot of little noise about this thing, potential thing called COVID. Had no idea. January rolled around, February rolled around, and the noise is really getting loud now. And then by March, you know what happened? The world stood still.
yes.
And I will tell you, a lot of folks at that time thought, well, hospitals know what they. No, we did not.
Oh, I
We
know.
were just as much in the dark as everyone else, and so
Yes.
you learn how to pivot. Right. I
Yes.
came in with an agenda. I came and I knew what I was going to do. I have led before. This was not a surprise to me. I wanted to lead this. I competed for it and I got it.
Nice.
But what I did not know is that a thing called COVID would really revolutionize the way we provide care, the way
Yes.
we do medicine, the way we lead.
Yes.
And so that's a life altering journey for sure. But
But you
we
made
made
it
it through,
through.
made it through.
Good.
My sons were safe, my husband, our people. We unfortunately lost I lost a couple of employees at the hospital to COVID.
Oh, okay.
Family member, not immediate family members, but friends and uh, we lost some friends and personally some friends and distant family members, but for the
Yes.
most part the impact was minimal for us,
That's
but
that's
not
good
in
to
the
hear.
healthcare world.
Yes. Well, what an opening statement and an opening question. And boy, yeah, the masters and COVID a few months after you got to the new job. My
Mhm.
gosh. But let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
What year were you born and where were you born?
So I was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, West Indies. I
Oh
was born in
God.
yes. So my story is quite the story. I
Yes.
was born November 5th, 1967.
Okay.
And I'll just say Montego Bay, Jamaica,
Sure.
West Indies,
Okay.
to, of course, parents who were Jamaicans. I am a Jamaican.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, that was the year that, I
Gosh.
came into being
How
a
long
long
were
time
you in
ago.
how long were you in Jamaica?
So I lived there for 12 years. So I was about 12, not even a teenager when I came to the United States. My family migrated here,
Okay.
and we lived in New York, Poughkeepsie, New York to be exact. in
Okay.
Poughkeepsie, New York, which is upstate New York, for about a year.
Okay.
I went to middle school there, and then my family, my core family, transitioned to Bridgeport, Connecticut, which is where I finished growing up, and then went off to school.
Got
Mhm.
you. Okay. Tell us about your family, your parents, siblings, anything like that that you would like us to know so that
Oh,
you're
absolutely. So my parents, Dorian and Radcliffe Spence, my maiden name is
great
Spence.
names.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, both Jamaicans grew up in Jamaica and met and fell in love and, married and had children and, just living the dream, I think. But, if you look at the history of the islands, it was around that time my family, my parents really thought we needed to give our children a different future. A lot of people think of Ireland as like this idyllic place, but when you live there day to day and you really the island exists on tourism, any impact to that creates second, third, and fourth order effects. And so my mother at that time really my father actually worked in the laundry industry, and he worked in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And
Really?
yes, he did. And so he worked there I mean, gosh, before we were born, that whole time. And he worked there. And so we saw our dad maybe every 6 months. He would come from Cuba to visit. And so it was this great time, right? Because he would come and it was like Christmas all over. He would come and visit and then he'd go back to work.
Yeah,
And so my mom, and again, I think, you know, economics, finance, how you live, the island is idyllic, except probably not as idyllic as everyone would like to think, right?
right.
And
Yes,
so my mom wanted us to have, a future, a better future, she says.
absolutely.
Um, and so her and my dad made the decision, to come to the United. We already had family members in the United States, by the way. I had
Okay. I
uncles
was going
that
to
lived here,
ask.
so we weren't the original. We
Gotcha.
came on their heels,
Gotcha.
and came in New York and stayed with family for a year, and then my father joined us permanently from Cuba,
Okay.
and so now the intact family moved to Connecticut, and that's where my sisters and brothers and myself, we all grew up. Hmm.
Nice. And
Yeah,
that's, yeah, boy, what an eventful first 15 years or so. My goodness. Okay.
very
Thank you.
eventful.
Thank
Yes,
you for that. And that's yeah, boy, that's you're not alone, but at the same time, there aren't many people that some people know that have gone through the trails that you have traveled. So
yes.
thank you for that. What was there one or two most memorable, significant, or helpful experiences during your childhood that you would like us and your descendants to know about? Any kind of significant event?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So my dad, of course, worked in, like I said earlier, Guantanamo Bay, and so I grew up with a very strong mother. Right,
Okay.
my mother really was the disciplinarian because my dad worked overseas. So my life was fine. Right, we lived in a nice home. We grew up around our families, and that was fantastic. And so the decision is made. And I guess I should have tell you here, my mom came first, right? So we were left with my aunt. So my aunt was really the one raising us for
Mhm.
about maybe 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
While my mom came, got settled. Then she brought us over, and we lived at that time. Then almost probably about a year later, my dad joined us. But I think what is important, and what I'd love for my kids to know, is that growing up, today when I look at my sons, they have a different experience, right? Oh,
Yes.
much different experience.
Yes.
But I think it's important for people to understand there's always been a cultural divide between people that are not Americans and people who are naturalized Americans.
Yes.
As I'm thinking about kind of the challenges we're having today with immigration, and you
I
hear the
know.
stories and you hear that, and I think I've lived in this country for 43 years, I think.
Goodness.
And when I think about where we are today And when my family moved here, and how we had to learn this culture, you
Yes.
know, kids talk about bullying, kids talk about, being cyberbullied and all of this. And to us, we didn't have any of that stuff.
Right.
But I think that the challenge is how did we were culturally different,
Yes.
culturally, and having
Yes.
to learn the American way as a 12-year-old. And the first year I got here in the middle school, there was a race riot.
Oh
I had
no.
no idea. 1980, 81, there's a
Ugh.
race riot in New York in the middle school that I attend. And of course, I've never, ever
Right.
been, never faced with that. And so
Yes.
my cousins who had lived here for years, that's what I was saying, you had family before, they had to come and get us because we were little kids. We didn't know.
Of course.
And so, can you imagine what it's like to think about a 12-year-old who grew up in an island where the people look like her? She was validated every day.
Yes.
Um, Her sense of self was very strong. And you move her into a culture where the culture was so different. Even if I looked like you, I was not you, right? So African
Yes.
Americans struggled to connect. We didn't connect because culturally we're so different, and
Yes.
people had their own preconceived notions about people from the islands, people from anywhere different, honestly.
Yes.
And so a 12-year-old having to maneuver that space, and then you put a race riot on
Right.
top of that. It
Yeah.
was an amazing time of, and my parents, they just work hard. They just want their kids to
Yes.
go to school, heads down. But so your parents honestly weren't able to help, right?
Right.
For you to maneuver a space because they were never in that space. They were in the working
Right.
world. And
Yes.
so I think a lot of that is truly my foundation for what drove my success in the future because I had to learn how to maneuver very, very difficult spaces
Yes.
early on. And I
Yeah.
think that was one of the strengths that I gained from that experience.
That's wonderful that you took a huge challenge and are communicating that it is the thing that made you stronger. And that's exactly what many people need to hear. So thank you, Carlene. Already, Carlene, you're really laying some really amazing things on us. So thank you for that. Okay, yeah, that's pretty significant, but
Mhm,
I can't. 1980s. I was 20, or in
mhm,
1980 I was 20. I mean, I was down here in the South, and I wasn't aware of the race
mhm.
riots in middle
Exactly.
schools in New York.
Most
But
people don't even think about that. They're like, it's
exactly,
80s. Oh
yes,
no, there was race riots. There were
uh,
whites against black kids and unbelievable.
on,
That was my most shocking
yeah.
um entrance into the United States.
Yes, I completely understand. Thank you for that. Thank you. So along with that big challenge, who would you say, and I guess your parents definitely, but what your most significant and helpful mentors when you were growing up? Was there anybody else besides your very strong mother and father?
Well, growing up, I was around my family.
Okay.
Okay. I was around my family and
Yeah.
I was around other Jamaicans and other Jamaican families. So there was a tight knit Jamaican community. And I think that helped. The
Yes.
church we attended was, probably 99% Jamaicans, to be quite honest.
Yes.
But these were Jamaicans who had been here years before. So we were new. They brought us into the fold and we attended church religiously. And so I wouldn't say a person, I'd say a community is truly what it was the mentorship piece for me. Because brought us in as kids and we got it inculcated into the culture of the church. And, that was a strong foundation. And even today, when I look at my sister, my younger sister, she has friends from when she was that age because that's how profoundly impactful those people were in the schools
Yes.
she went to. And so when I think about it, it's the
Yes.
community. And I'm an avid reader. And so
Wonderful.
I lost myself in books. That
Yes.
was my saving grace, I think,
Yes.
because I read voraciously as a child. And I would like to say I continue, but
I know.
a little bit more responsibilities, not as
I
much.
know.
But that I think were the two things that anchored me: reading and my community.
That's as you were talking about before you said the word community, that was in my head, family, church, and community, street three powerful and
Yes.
wonderful ways to be led
Mm-hmm.
through life. So thank you for that. That's for verbalizing that. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, so you talked a little bit about, the middle school stuff, and we all know, those of us who have been through it or are going through it, that adolescence is one of, if not the most confusing and difficult stages of life. I mean, after middle school, did the challenges such as in middle school continue? How did you overcome the challenges of your adolescence?
So we moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Bridgeport is, predominantly, well, I guess it's a variety of people. Where now I'm meeting Hispanics. So, okay, Puerto Ricans are a predominant group there. Cape Verdeans are people I had never known before, are a dominant group there. And so I went to a high school, Bassick High School, when I got to Connecticut, and that's really when uh, I've always been a high achiever academically, and so
Nice.
now I was in a group, right, and it was a multifaceted group. There were whites, Hispanics, blacks, right. So you have this
Yes.
multifaceted group where now you move as a cohort because your grades, your achievements. Now you're kind of traveling as a group, and I think that also helped to cushion me along the way because I lost myself in books. I had a strong community. In my mother's home, you did not fail anything. So, the expectation is you're going to be academically, demonstrate academic excellence. And so that's what I did. And so that brought me into that group. And so we moved through high school as a group. I was in programs that supported academic excellence.
Nice.
And so that I think cushioned me to a certain
Yes.
degree, where the challenges of adolescence, which I told you earlier, made me stronger. So here I found a group of my peers and we
Yes.
just connected and we kind of moved through high school as a unit now
Yes.
because we're all in this band of excellence and we just continue to perform in an excellent manner and continued. And so that I think for me, being, hitting high school and teenage years and did not struggle with those things, right? With self-esteem, like I hear people talking
Right.
about now.
Yes.
Because at that point, I think I had found my tribe,
Yes.
and my
And
tribe and
plus,
I were moving along.
yeah, the strength you had developed in your experience
Yes.
before this, I think, both
Hmm.
mental and physical. I mean, just the idea of
There you go.
staying determined and focused, I think
Hmm.
also. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. That's wonderful to hear that, that your adolescence was a time of thriving with
it was.
with your unit, with your group. And so
Hmm.
thank you. Thank you for that. What would you like to share about any of your life experiences from your adult life that you'd want your family's descendants and the public to know about? Is there any life experience during your adult life that you really feel like documenting here today?
Oh, absolutely. As I transitioned through adolescence and, went to college, what I think is fascinating is my brother, or he's several years older. And so he joined the Air Force. And I was like, that's interesting. Hmm.
Yes.
But I did very well in school. And I'm like, do I want to join the military? So I ended up coming to McNeese,
I was
right?
going to ask, how did you hear about McNeese up in Connecticut?
So I heard about McNeese. So I heard about McNeese from through the military channels, through a reserve officer training. So if you know, McNeese is in Lake Charles
Yes.
and Fort Polk is
Yes.
in Leesville.
Yes.
And I was at Fort Polk at the time and I heard about McNeese.
Yes.
And I said, okay, that's interesting. And McNeese, I said, okay, I'm going to go to McNeese, right?
Nice.
And I went to McNeese, and McNeese had at that time, which broke my heart when I got the letter, had the Reserve Officer Training Corps. It had an ROTC program.
Right.
And I came to McNeese and I joined the ROTC program. And the rest I could say is history, because McNeese and that program were truly what set me on the trajectory. Because when I came to McNeese, I didn't necessarily say I'm going to join the military. I knew my brother was in the Air Force, but he was enlisted. I was
Right.
not trying to do that.
Yes.
So when I saw the reserves, the reserve officer, the ROTC, I'm like, that
Hmm.
sounds exciting. Now, I was hoping it was an Air Force ROTC, truth be told, but it wasn't, which is exactly what I needed. Because again, if you remember my foundation, very stringent. Adversity had formed me.
Yes.
I knew how to focus. And so
Yes.
ROTC was the perfect place for
Yes.
me. And I absolutely thrived in McNeese. I looked at a couple of my yearbooks and I just have to laugh, because in there I became the battalion commander in ROTC, first female. And the comments that was written and the articles that was written in my yearbook,
Yes.
I literally lived those out. It is so amazing to me when I reflect that,
Gosh.
because not only was I the first female, I think the first black probably, in the ROTC program, I also joined a reserve unit. And that reserve unit, it was right when Desert Storm kicked off. If you
In the
remember
early
Desert,
90s.
the early 90s,
Okay.
I'm at McNeese, do my thing. I'm in the reserves doing my thing, and our unit gets activated.
Okay.
I'm the battalion commander in the ROTC program. I am in school. My major is biology, so I'm thinking of going to medical school.
Yes.
And the war hits off. The shortest war in history. But anyway, the war hits off, and my unit got activated, and I had to activate with my unit.
Wow.
So I had to leave school for 6 months. I had to leave. So I lost a semester at
Yes.
McNeese.
Yes.
And I went to, I think it was Kentucky, and we did whatever we did there for the time. I came back to school and really hunkered down, right?
Yes.
Because now I'm a semester behind. And
Yes.
so hunkered down and graduated,
Nice.
went to camp. I don't know if you know how ROTC works, but during your senior year, um, you go and compete at a camp, at a military camp, with thousands of other cadets, right?
Wow.
Thousands of other cadets.
Okay.
And I went and competed, and so you can get graded as a 2, 3, or 4, and I got graded as a 4, which was the highest.
Okay.
So just think, I'm at camp. I gained, I got number 4 on my, which was critical in order for me to go get active duty versus going in the reserves. So it's changed a lot now, but when I went through, several decades ago, obviously, that's what we had to. That's how we were graded.
Okay.
When you got a 4 across the board, it just meant that you did exceptionally well in
That's
in tactics, in leading, in writing operations order, all of those things. And so
nice.
I got a 4 at camp, representing McNeese very well.
Yeah.
Came back to McNeese, and at this time now is when we have to put our preferences, if we want to go active duty, if you want to go reserves. And you weren't guaranteed active duty. That was, you had to do really well to get active duty.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And so had several friends, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you know, I think he's a judge, Gidry,
Oh,
um,
wait.
Kendrick.
I've heard the name
Yes,
here in
he and
Lake
I were in
Charles.
ROTC together.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Uh-huh. And
Okay.
so, yes, and so I went active duty and got commissioned as a second lieutenant, at McNeese, went through
Nice.
the whole
Yeah.
ceremony. And then I went on to do what soldiers do, you lead. And so I left there, and then, for the next 30 years, I served in the Army. 30 years I served in the Army, and the variety of assignments. And I think what I want people to know is that at no point was it an easy thing. It was never easy. People,
Yes.
I don't know, sometimes, oh, it's the army. It was never easy.
Yes.
It's a highly competitive
Yes.
organization. It is a fast-paced organization. You're always training for war, whether there's a war or not. You're always training for war.
Yes.
Um, and so my whole career has been very competitive. I've competed at every level. And at the end of the day, from second lieutenant to colonel, when I retired, I was the first female um, officer to run Fort Eisenhower Medical Center, Dwight David Eisenhower Army Medical Center. I'm the only
That's
one during COVID, to be quite honest, right at that time. And so, all of that to say, my experiences from the day I came in the United States, the day I engaged in a race riot that I knew nothing about, to when we moved, to when I got to McNeese, to 30 years later when I retired from the military, all that was stuff that was built over time. My foundation is extremely strong. My foundation is, as I said earlier, is grounded in my experiences. It's grounded with family who supports me. It's grounded in, my husband and my two boys who continue to support me. I deployed to Afghanistan, and in that, my husband took care of our children. And I'm deployed, right?
yes.
In Afghanistan, and that now that's war. I was
Yes, it
there,
is.
and experienced that what it's like to live. Now, my husband was in the military, so he
Okay.
deployed for 18 months, and he was in Iraq on the border. So I had, we had one little baby at that time, and when I think about the things, my children, we try to share this with them. I have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old.
Wow.
19-year-old is finishing up his first year in college, and the
Nice.
16-year-old is, I just went to meet with his counselor to make sure he's getting his classes for 11th grade, but they
Yes.
can't conceptualize my story. It's
Right.
hard for them to, they just see mommy as, oh mom, you've always done well. They don't understand the steps that made me who I
Yes.
am today. They don't understand that every decision that I make is grounded in experiences. It's grounded in, I always think second, third, and fourth order effects, and I think that's the military,
Yes. Yes,
right?
it is.
Because I have to think of the ripple effects of decisions made, whether even in my personal life. And
Yes.
so I'd love for people to understand that my journey was not easy, but I'd say it was ordained. Because when I read the story in my yearbook from McNeese,
Yes.
I just laugh. I'm like, who knew?
Exactly.
There was a premonition to where I ended up. And I think, what an amazing story. And I have to say that even about my own story, because some days when I reflect, I don't think I truly grasp from where I came to where I am today.
Yes. That, Carlene, that's some beautiful and just some wisdom, bullets of wisdom that are just flying all over. Thank you for all of that. I know your family, especially your two boys, will deeply appreciate what you're saying, and their great grandkids also will get a great sense of their great grandmother. So thank you for that. So what was it? Who was it or what was it that helped you become the person you are today? Is there something that you can kind of focus on that got you there?
Well, I think examples of really very strong African American characters or personalities or history. So I read a lot of history. I'm a history buff too when it comes to the African American story. And when I
Nice.
think about that story and that the experiences, right? My people came out of Africa, but they ended up in Jamaica, right?
Yes.
And my people, the strength of that journey where they landed in Jamaica, very, very strong spirited people
Very
that,
much.
survived the Middle Passage and survived all of that and landed in the island only to be, treated another way and then having to really work your way back to who you are. So I've had some strong examples in the history of Jamaicans, in the history of African Americans. That has been, you know, really my guiding post for people who have made it through adversities, right?
Yeah.
My parents, when I look at my parents, my dad passed away. He did not see any of this that people see. My dad died in 1991, and I
Wow.
was at McNeese and had to again come home, right? Because he was deathly ill and flew back home, and he died that December. And so I had to go through all of that and then
Yes.
go back to school to
Yeah.
graduate in May. And he never saw that. So when I think about people or persons who have been, you know, my my parents are immigrants. I'm an immigrant.
Right.
And when I
Right.
think about how they've shown up in this country and how they've worked and how they've labored so their children could have a different experience. And then when I look at my experiences that I have, and it's 10 times better than my parents, right? Because they
Right.
worked so hard that I would have that opportunity. And then when I look at my children and how different my children are Americans, right? They
Yeah.
don't know, they've never even been to Jamaica, to be quite honest, right?
Wow. Okay.
And so when I think of those, there's so many, it's very difficult for me to pin roles on one person. It's
Sure.
like I said before, it's many people because I take things from the people I engage with and interact with, and that helps to fortify me and to build me up, right? At
Yes.
McNeese, I met friends who were just great people. In the reserves, they were great people. And so I take a little bit of my foundation from many folks, but I put it and coalesce it into my foundation. And the teachers that were there,
Yes.
I got my master's from the University of Georgia, which is in Athens,
Right.
Georgia here, and I think about that and how that builds into not just my academic portfolio, but who I am as a person, right?
Yes.
I went into the field. I did healthcare my whole military career with some splatterings of HR, but I really wanted to focus on HR when I got out. And that's the reason I do that is because I have a profound passion for stories and people telling their stories and people in understanding how their experiences impact their stories, right? And so I use my life as a framework for that, right? And the things that I've experienced and how I've been able to, and I always say you weave it together into that tapestry, right? And it's
Yes.
it's so many different things that helps to solidify who I am. That it's hard to say one thing, but
Absolutely.
lots of experiences that have brought me to this appointed time.
Yes. The experiences and the people, like you said. I mean,
Mhm.
they've all contributed to that. Thank you, Carlene. Thank you. So, is there a way for you to verbalize who are you today? And what have you become in your mind that you would want your descendants and your family and the public to know? Um,
Wow, that's a heavy question.
I'm
Who have I
sorry.
become? You know, um, wow. I think of all those experiences and spending 30 years in the army, I be, I think I've become a believer in life experiences. None of it is happenstance, right? And I'll tell you when I flip through the Rolodex of my life, I see the interconnectedness of it all, right? And
Yes.
at this appointed time, when this opportunity came to me, I was thinking about it. I wanted to capture my story. And so here I am telling you my story. And so who I am today is I want to share my story, not just for my children, but for others that will hear it and said, I too am American. I
Yes.
too am woman. I too am Black. I too am Jamaican. I am many things. And so today I am excited about where I am. I still think there's more to be done, right? Don't we always?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not
But
saying stop.
but I think, I show up on my job and sometimes, I may seem a little reserved, but it's because I am a deep thinker about experiences. I'm a deep thinker about how do we impact others in our daily engagements with them. How is it? How do we tell our story so people will see more than what they think they see? You
Yes.
understand? And so that's a powerful question. I'm not sure I'm answering it, but
No, you are giving.
I am.
I will say that, a deep thinker, I think person who contributed to that was being a book reader and
Mhm.
the people
Yes.
you had in your life who instilled this idea of, a believer and just a deep thinker and reflecting and, taking in the entire,
Hmm.
what the situation is and not just looking at one aspect of it. Does that help a little bit maybe?
Yes, that helps a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because yeah, and I'm a tapestry of many things, right?
Exactly.
And all of it fits right.
Yes.
I won't use the word perfect, but it fits nicely, right?
Yeah.
It nests really nicely because I don't know how. What if I'd gone to medical school? I think how different
Yes.
would I have been? I didn't go to medical school,
Yes.
but my path has been so amazing,
Yes.
so amazing. And the people that have come in my path, I've been married for 27 years and we
Oh my
have two
goodness.
boys. And my husband is, people probably think he's so different from her. He's a little
My
reserved.
wife and I are the
My
same
husband is
thing.
super
Yes.
friendly, right? My husband knows that he knows no strangers. I am a lot more reserved. I know strangers.
Yes.
Um, but we're a perfect blend for our family,
Yes.
right? We're a
Yes.
perfect blend. And I look at, 27 years ago, we married and we've traveled this army thing together for a while. Then he retired and I continued on. And our life has been just, if people see it, they're like, oh, they don't have any problems. That's because we're able to communicate and be able to know what's best for our family and the things we want to do. So he builds into who I am today too, and how we
Very
connect and the remaining fabric of my life. And the legacy is I just want people to know you can do it. You really can. And
yes.
how you do it, you have a choice now. You can either
Yes.
use those experiences or not, because they're people that
Yes.
started a path and I don't know where they are today.
Thank you for that. That's extremely helpful, I know, to many people. So, um, you're not finished yet, but at this point, what do you hope when the time comes? What will be your legacy? What would you hope to be your legacy?
I've been thinking about that a lot because people are, I've done many speeches, I generally people want me to speak at something and I've done many speeches and I've done memorials too, unfortunately, that's part of the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And every time I think about that dash between my birth year and, some
Yes.
year way in the future, and I think about what do you want that dash to be? And
Yes.
I know I want people to know that I cared, period. And that may sound odd. Of course you care. No, not really. Not
No.
You don't have to care.
Yeah.
But I care deeply. And my son, I'll tell you a story. Last night I called my son. He's away at school and he's taking summer classes. And we got him an apartment for another story because he just didn't do what he needed to do. So he's in a little apartment. So he
Right.
has to, his lease doesn't end until July, but he wants to come home. And so he has to sublet the apartment. So I said, call me before you sublet. And I asked him, hey, what is your plan? I saw that you're taking an in-person class in the summer. Are you going to stay there? Not. He's like, no. I said, so where are you going to stay? And he's like, oh, I checked with my cousin. I'm going to stay with him. And I'm like, oh, very good. And before he hung up, he said, Mom, I don't say this. He's 19, he's 18, he'll be 19 in May.
Okay.
He says, Mom, I don't say this often enough. And I should. He says, thank you for pushing me. He said, I know you're always in my corner. He's 18. And I think about that. And that's really what I want my legacy to be, where my children truly understand that for every nudge and every push and maybe some a little aggression, it's
Yes.
because I care. It's because I want to leave this world a better place. I want every encounter with someone for them to leave the space they occupy with me differently and better. I want people to say, I knew her and she cared.
That okay. Well, I can tell you that you have just engaged this person in that sense. So yeah, this is unlike anything that I have experienced, and I deeply appreciate you sharing this with me, and just your connection with family and with community, and that caring speak totally to my heart. And I one of the reasons I created this was for all of that, especially family,
Mhm.
and you care about human beings, and so yeah, that's right along with what our mission is. So thank you, Carlin. You are fulfilling exactly why I created this 2 years ago. So, okay. Um, what would you, let's say, we're gonna digitalize this 50 to 100 years from now, your descendants will be watching this. What's the most important thing you want them to know?
You're going to be okay.
Nice.
You're going to be okay.
What's the most important thing I want them to know is
Yes.
that if you care, it really actually makes everything else manageable, right?
Yes.
You have to love. It's so fascinating. I went to this program and the guest speaker spoke about the very thing. She says, 100 years from now, what would you want people to say about you? And it's that I loved and I care.
Yes.
That's it.
When did you see this speaker?
I saw her in February. Oh, that was only last month. It seems so long
Yes.
ago.
So, yeah, we are
Last month.
constantly learning. We're lifelong learners, and don't
Yes.
ever shut down. Don't ever shut that down. Keep bringing things in, letting your mind work through it, care,
Mhm.
love, and you and
Compassion for people, compassion for humanity.
yes, yes.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's a great punctuation mark for that. So, so yeah, the only other question I have, Carlene, is based on everything you've talked about, is there anything that I haven't asked about that you feel needs to be in this story of your life experiences? Is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add maybe one or two things. I talked briefly, really, about the military, but throughout my time in the military, the individuals, the courageous people that I've met and I've engaged with, and I'm talking from all walks of life, from all nationalities, from all racial, ethnic backgrounds, and how we make it work because we care. We have a singular mission, right? And it's to protect the freedoms of this country. That's what we were doing. That's what we've always done, and that's what the military will always do. And so understanding that people at the end of the day, when everything else falls apart, it's people that's there, the core. And during my time in the military, I have learned those, I have built on those lessons because I always knew them, but I built on it because every experience afforded me the opportunity to glean something from it, from every engagement and every encounter. And
Yes.
so the whole thing about who I am is really a product of my environment, my experiences, my family, all of these things. And when I retired, I wanted to get into HR, and so I work for a company now where I do their talent strategy because I believe part of what we need to do is to give back.
Yes.
But more importantly, we need to develop the next generation of leaders. I did that in the military, and I wanted to do it here in a different, in corporate America. And that I think will be my continued legacy and my continued story is that I will continue to pour into others. I am a member of many organizations that are community based, and it's about uplifting, building up, and taking care of people. So I continue to do it. I'm a member of the Association of the United States Army. I'm a member of the Military Officers Association. I'm a member of, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I work with my local Augusta West Rotary Club. I work with, my American Legion. I do all these things because it's centered around people. And I'm a big believer. My mission, my life's mission statement is to give back. That is what's written as my mission statement. And my vision is for a world where whatever resources I have continues to make the world a better place. That's my personal mission and vision statement. And so that's what I live by. And that's what I pour into my children. And, 100 years from now, when they open the vault, that's what I want people to know is that I gave back fully
Uh,
and completely.
Carlene, you have yeah, you have taught me much in the last, well, I don't know how long it's been, but about the military and about service and the idea that we have probably a mindset about the military, and you've just given me a completely different layer of it. We might hear about other people saying that it's this and this, but coming from you, a retired colonel, it's about protecting human beings. And
Yes.
I think that's what many people need to hear. And also the idea that each of us, there go my dogs. Sorry.
Oh no.
um,
Fine.
each of us, what I've gotten from you today is that each of us have a power. I'm sorry,
Oh no, that's fine.
they're
No
going
worries.
crazy, but each of us has a power to affect other human beings.
Yes.
And that's going to be something that I'm going to take from this and hopefully be better at. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. So
Yeah.
many nuggets that you've given us today.
I think it's no greater honor than to tell your story and to have others to hear your story and to improve their lives. And so I appreciate this. I think this was a great opportunity. And I thank you very much for this.